Hello everyone, welcome. Today we're going to be looking at one-point perspective drawing. You can see here I've made a simple cityscape using one-point perspective. You can tell all the lines on the roads, the lines on the doors, the lines on the windows, and the lines on the roof all converge back to this one point here. And that's the technique I'm going to show you today. So what you're going to need for practice is this handout. I've attached this handout in the Google Classroom for you. You're also going to need a ruler. You're going to need a pencil and an eraser, so make sure you have both of those handy. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to follow step by step each direction until I finished. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a horizon line. The horizon line is the line that separates the sky from the ground. So I want to keep my horizon line kind of low, that way I have room for my buildings. I also want to draw this line lightly, that way when I erase I don't see any of the pencil marks. Okay, there's the first part. Then the next thing I'm going to do is draw my vanishing point. So I'm creating a point in the center. Well, it doesn't have to be in the center, but somewhere on this line you're creating a point. All right. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the road. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold my ruler down here. If I want the road to be really big, then it's going to be wider. If I want the road to be thin and narrow, then I'm going to make it a little bit almost vertical with the paper. So I'm just going to hold with one hand to make sure my ruler doesn't move. And I'm going to go from the dot to the end of the page. Now I have a road. Well, part of a road. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So again, I'm going to go from the dot to the end of the page. I'm holding the ruler with one hand to make sure it doesn't move. I'm going from the dot to the end of the page. And now it looks like I have a road that is going back in space to this vanishing point. Now I'm going to start to add buildings. So I'm going to start on the left-hand side here, and I'm going to make a rectangle. I want to make sure my rectangle goes through the horizon line. I'm going to start down here at the bottom. Helps if I line my ruler up to the edge of the paper. And I'm going to make my building go from 1/2 inch to 2 inches. Okay. And then I'm going to go up however tall I want my building to be. That's how far my ruler is going to be. And then I'm going to go from 1/2 inch to 2 inches. Now these two lines should be the same width. Now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to connect them. So again, I'm just lining up the edges, holding with one hand, and drawing with the other. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Now I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to erase the line that's in this rectangle, because this is my building and my building is not transparent. And this is the reason why you want to make sure that you're drawing lightly. Now in the next step, we're going to take the top of this rectangle here and it's going to converge to the vanishing point. So I'm going to take my ruler. I'm going to hold it from the corner of this rectangle to the vanishing point. Like so. Now I'm going to do the same thing to the bottom of this rectangle. It's going to converge to the vanishing point. So I'm going from the bottom corner here to the vanishing point. I'm lining it up with my ruler, holding it steady, and drawing my line. So now I have a rectangle and a triangle. Now what I want to do is I want to create my building now. Depending on how long or large I want my building, that's where I'm going to draw my vertical line. So I'm going to make my building come to about here. So I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to hold it vertically, and I'm going to draw a line right here. Notice I have my line starting in here, in this part of the line, this diagonal line, and it ends at the bottom part of this diagonal line. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my eraser, I actually have a bigger eraser here, I'm going to use this one. I'm going to erase this line right here. I'm going to erase this line. This is why it is very important to make sure you're drawing lightly. And I'm going to erase this line right here. Now it should look like I have a three-dimensional form or a building. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw another building behind this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to draw a rectangle, and again, I'm going to have my rectangle above the horizon line and below the horizon line. It's going to go into both these spaces. So I'm going to start it over here. I'm going to go from the line, I'm going to go over to this 1/2 inch. I'm going to do the same thing down here to the 1/2 inch. Now I'm going to connect these lines. So I'm just making another rectangle. And again, now I'm just repeating steps. I'm going to erase this line here. And now I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to connect this corner of the rectangle to the vanishing point. I'm holding this ruler steady, lining it up before I start drawing. Then I'm connecting. And now I'm going to take the bottom corner of this rectangle to the vanishing point. Now I have my rectangle and my triangle. I need to end my building. So however large I want my building to be, I'm going to draw a straight line in here. Notice I'm lining my ruler up with the bottom of the paper. That makes sure that my ruler is straight and not crooked. I'm going to hold here with one hand and draw my line. Now I'm going to erase the line in the center, the line at the top, and the line down here at the bottom. And now it looks like I have two buildings. So if you want another building in here, you can squeeze another building back here. And then you're going to want to also do the same thing to the other side. Okay? For video time purposes, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to show you instead is how to create doors and windows. So to create a door, let's say we want a very large door because this is some sort of department store. I'm going to create a vertical line. And then the top of my door, however long I made it, the top of the door is going to go to the vanishing point. And then I want to end my door. So wherever I want my door to end, I'm going to create another vertical line. Right? Now I'm going to take my eraser and erase all of the extra lines that went through my building. You can see now this looks like I have a door. So I'm just going to jazz it up a little bit and create another vertical line and some smaller lines here. Okay. Now, if I'm creating windows up here, it's the same thing. So if I want a window to be, let's do it vertically first. I'm going to do one large window. So I want the window to be straight on the side. That is a pretty big window. There we go. The bottom of my window is going to go to the dot. And if you're getting really good at this, you do not need to connect all the way to the dot. You just need to make sure your ruler is lined up to the dot. And I'll show you what I mean here. Notice that? I'm going to do the same thing to the top of the window up here. It's going to come all the way down to this vanishing point. So I'm holding the ruler in place, I'm lining it up, and I'm going to draw my line and stop. Now this end of the window needs to be a straight line, needs to be vertical. And I have a window. Or this could also be a billboard if you wanted to say something. So say you want this to be Hobby Lobby. You can write in the words Hobby Lobby. Now, I've shown you doors and a window or some sort of billboard for doors and windows that are on the side of a building. Notice this is on the side of the building as it's on the same side, like going down the road. It's facing the road. If it's facing towards you, like if it's looking straight on and facing towards me, the windows are going to look different. The windows will not go to the vanishing point. The windows will be straight. Notice how the end of this building is straight. No lines go to the vanishing point. So the same thing here. So if I'm going to add some windows here, 3/4 to there. Say that's how long I want my windows to be. These lines are going to be straight. And then the tops of these windows, they will not go to the vanishing point. They remain straight. Because these lines, these windows are facing you. Every other one that we've drawn is not facing you. It's facing towards the side of you, if that makes sense. So there's doors, windows, how to create the buildings. And the last thing you'll want to add is a sidewalk. So again, with our sidewalk, if you've got space over here, this is where your sidewalk can be. If you don't have space over here, draw it on the inside of the road to make your road a little bit smaller. So all I'm going to do is add another line that goes from the vanishing point to the end of the paper. I want it to be like this. And then we do the same thing on the other side. Okay. And the lines here, the lines on the sidewalk, are spaced straight. And they're spread far apart. But as you get back into space, the lines become closer together. And become closer and closer and closer. And you want to make sure that your ruler is straight. You're going to take your time here. Okay, but notice they're further apart, and as they go back, the line should get closer and closer and closer together. Now what I want you to do independently is you'll finish the doors and the windows on here, and then I want you to add buildings on the other side of this. Then once you've done that, don't forget about your sky. Is it going to be clouds? Is it going to be nighttime? That's what you want to think about. I'll show you how to do clouds real quick. When you're doing clouds, you want to do maybe a half circle, part of a circle like this. And then off the side, you want to make another half circle. And maybe another one. And then we're just going to add some zigzags. Okay. And again, these are supposed to be really fluffy clouds, real free form. You don't want to think too much about it. Okay, and if you want the sun to be setting, maybe you can have the sunset here, or maybe there's water in the background, or it's the beach. Be really creative with your background. Once you finish drawing, if you have a Sharpie, I recommend that you outline it all, whether it's a Sharpie pen or a larger Sharpie. And then after you've done all that and you've outlined it, go ahead and erase all of your pencil marks very well. And then when that's done, I want you to add color to it. Now again, you can add color with colored pencils or markers or crayons. For this example, I did a watercolor wash. And notice with this piece, this example, I made things look three-dimensional. We have a three-dimensional windowsill here. We have steps coming off the door. The sidewalk is three-dimensional. Even the roof has the details of being three-dimensional. There are other examples that I've provided for you in some attachments that you can look at if you are a good drawer and you want to do something a little bit more complex. So you can see here we actually have some billboards. This one includes some nature. You can see that they've incorporated trees, and it has a really interesting top. And this last one is cool. It's actually a railroad, but you can see it definitely has buildings. The buildings are layered at various heights. And then we have this tunnel and railroad tracks and railroad cars, which I think is pretty cool. So I can't wait to see what you come up with. If you have any questions, feel free to rewatch the video or email me.